Welcome to the Syndicate, and also welcome to Boring Property Law. Boring Property Law Stories. So, all right, this involves a very old gentleman and his family, a nuclear plant, cattails, and lawyers, frantic people, everybody else. Okay, so this is what happens. This is a true story. So, when Cherrywood Nuclear Plant was built, the land was bought all around it except for one critical area. And the reason that the Cherrywood was built where it was built is because you need water to help cool the nuclear plant. So the people that built this plant decided that they would have these grates, and the water would flow in, and they would use the water, and they would then try to purify it, do whatever. But this is what happened. So time went on, everybody's happy, everybody forgot that this one little area of land was a land that they did not own, and they never got an easement for it because they couldn't find the person, and they figured, well, if we sit on it long enough, someone will show up someday. We'll just deal with it when there's a problem. Now, when you hear that, what does that tell you? Like, okay, we'll deal with it when it's a problem, and a nuclear plant, and a land use issue. Yeah, this is not a situation you want to be hearing about at like 2 a.m., which is what happened to Judge Farrell, who I worked for, but we'll get to that in a second. So the brilliant people at the Cherrywood one day noticed that things seem to be a little hotter. It's getting hot in here. What could it possibly be? Well, it turns out that the person that owned that little area owned a critical part of where the water, flows into these grates that cool the nuclear plant. Little beknownst to them, Mr. Clarence Moore's, I'm using a fake name here, but Mr. Clarence Moore's beavers that were on his property had diverted the water just enough so that the water came a little further into his property, affected all the dead cattails, and it brought, sure enough, all the cattails began slowly over time collecting against the grates of the nuclear plant. And nobody noticed this for a very long time. And time went on, people ignored it. And what ended up happening is a plant administrator was like, wow, it's really hot in here. So he goes downstairs and he checks it out. And he's like, what the, censor me. What is going on here? We are in a dire situation because now the nuclear plant was barely getting any water into it. All the cattails were collecting. So they run out. It's the middle of the afternoon on a Friday. They run out frantically trying to find 96-year-old Mr. Clarence Moore, who owns this property. There's no way to access his land but for a dirt road that has cattails on either side of it. They finally get to his property where they are met with his relatives and shotguns. And they are told to get the bleepity bleep 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 off the bleepity bleep property. And they're trying to explain, but you don't understand. The nuclear plant is at a critical situation. We either have to shut it down, part of it down, or you have to help us with this situation, or we're going to bring the police and sue you and blah, blah, blah. Well, the problem was that would have been great maybe a month ago, but now they're looking at a situation where they're up shit's creek, literally. So there's always an emergent judge on call. So, and it was after 6 o'clock in the evening at this point. And they still have not been able to talk to Mr. Moore, and they have this problem. So they get on the phone